Ghosted by my crush, I realize I'm not human. You told me you understood, but I'll never fit in. After months of hospital stays and mental breakdowns, I confront how hollow my life has been. I recognize I'm too mentally ill to live. Am I destined to fade away? Thank you seriously, even if it may sound sarcastic. For the longest time, I have maintained delusions about my life having any value or about me having any chance of becoming a real human being. Now that I have been in residential treatment for an extended period and have spent the past 2 months in another, albeit less intense mental health program far from home and college, I fully realize those notions are not true. However, the process of coming to this realization did not start with treatment. I understand that you expressed you were not proud of how you handled the situation, as if I somehow deserved any sort of apology or respect. However, and I mean this sincerely and appreciatively, it was inadvertently a significant factor in helping me comprehend that not only am I not an actual human being like every other person my age, especially in college, even if I have yet to return there, but that at this stage in my life, there is absolutely no chance of me becoming one regarding undoing past damage. So even if, for whatever bizarre reason, you thought that someone like me was somehow entitled to an apology, I am not. Rather than expressions of disgust from you or anyone else, the previous chaos was, in fact, productive for me, as I recognize I should be seen in that light. I recall you telling me in your last message that you understood how I felt and that you too had once been in a similar position. I am unsure if you meant this solely in terms of harming myself, or if you were referring more broadly to the experience of spending part of one's life unable to grow up like a typical human being and then feeling lost in the world. However, I feel you meant the latter. That understanding was one of the most crucial elements. In conjunction with what you shared about your own history with harm, I realized that even if you once lived a life in which you were not treated as a human being, you must have turned things around while it was still possible, and you were, at the very least, a person by the time you began college. Regardless of what you might have endured, you are now part of the world from which I am forever excluded. Therefore, thank you once again, genuinely, even if it may sound sarcastic, which I understand why it might from your point of view for inadvertently aiding me in relinquishing yet another delusion about changing myself. I now recognize that at this juncture in my life, I am too much of a mentally ill, sheltered freak to ever become a true human being, and there is neither time nor point left for that. Unfortunately, after spending several recent nights staring down bottles of pills, I can ultimately say that I lack the genuine desire to end my own life. For some reason, my soul truly wants to keep existing, even though I feel so hopeless and most likely will continue to cling to this false hope, especially since I have put so much effort into my appearance, which working on it makes me feel better than anything else in the world. However, I am truly appreciative that this situation helped me realize just how weak, empty, and helpless I am. More than anything, I see how hollow I am, completely devoid of the normal human memories of having fun, suffering, discovering oneself, and growing alongside other humans. Thus, I feel compelled to be honest with myself and the world that I will never be a part of, despite wanting nothing more than to be included, about the way I feel regarding everything. I fully understand that this message may be perceived as wrong and inappropriate to send. In fact, I recognize that about the email I sent in early September as well. When I sent an apology the following night, I claimed I was clinging to a false hope about friendship because that was easier to articulate than acknowledging that I knew it was inappropriate, but lacked the mental stability and self-control to refrain from compulsively broadcasting my suffering. The fact that I am doing it again only proves how mentally unstable and unworthy of interacting with others I am. More than anything, I am simply so exhausted from being myself that I cannot even pinpoint what is wrong anymore. Plus, my true feelings need to be expressed now. Once more, even if not intentionally, I am genuinely grateful that I was able to experience something that helped me stop being delusional about the possibility of change. Given my outward freakish behavior and patterns, I hope that you would be even 1% as disgusted with me as I am with myself, as I believe that is the reasonable attitude to have toward me. My plan was to return to school in August. As much as the delusional part of me wants that to happen and still believes that things will drastically improve, I hope that between now and then, for one reason or another, it will not occur, if only so that I cannot be a threat to all the actual humans I encounter. So thank you sincerely for playing a role in facilitating these realizations. It is much better than lying to myself. Signed, a hollow, exceedingly effeminate, hopelessly awkward, sheltered, unintelligent, neurodivergent individual who feels like a fat excuse for a person weighing 21.5, up from 20.4 a year ago. Hello, due to the current atrocious and declining state of my mental health, it has been determined that my timeline for returning to college has been postponed, meaning I will not be on campus at least for the fall semester. I do not know if sharing a campus with someone who I acted the way I did made you anxious or uncomfortable, but I am worried it may have, as I do not want others to feel uncomfortable. Therefore, I thought you should know you will not be on campus with someone who is crazy and hollow. Thank you for helping me realize how empty I am. Thank you for helping me realize how empty I am. Thank you for helping me realize how empty I am. Thank you for helping me realize how empty I am. Thank you for helping me realize how empty I am. Thank you for helping me realize how empty I am. Thank you for helping me realize how empty I am. This is not ironic. I used to be delusional, thinking that my situation could change even though I have zero meaningful memories, and am afflicted with severe depression, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, and beyond all while being so far behind everyone else. It is genuinely good that I have had these experiences helping me understand that the attempt to change does not make sense because it cannot realistically happen at this point in my life. So even if these realizations were obviously not intentional, it truly is beneficial that others have helped me see just how empty I am and how hopeless my situation truly is. That is far better than being previously delusional about ever fitting in with human beings. Please do not respond. I do not want you to have to be put in that dreadful position again. I am just recognizing the truth about myself and am genuinely appreciative of any experience that has led me to stop being delusional about considering myself a real human being. I apologize for bothering you, but I am incredibly depressed and emotionally drained, lacking the willpower to resist the compulsion to send this any longer, even though I fully comprehend why it is inherently wrong. But I currently feel very dissociated and unreal. Please ignore this. Even though I cannot interact with you anymore, I wanted to thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to exist. I am so grateful to be understanding this. Hi, I just got out of my intense, multi-month treatment without my phone or any contact with the outside world a few days ago. I was informed that I had done very well and improved significantly. But then I received my phone and found myself overwhelmed by everything coming back that correctly makes me feel this way. I have another program I am participating in until the semester begins in August. But it is simply this lower intensity program for young adults that my family is mandating I attend. I obviously know that I need to leave you alone. I've understood ever since I moved beyond sporadic messaging and began begging for your attention. However, I am not in control because I am insane, so I am just doing this. I am not going to end my life, of course. Even though that might be the rational course of action, there is no way I could ever summon the courage to do that. I am genuinely very sorry for existing. I wish I had never been born. I want to curl into a ball, cry, and scream forever because I do not have any good memories to reflect upon, but I cannot do that, so I am just destined to die instead. I wish I felt okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I simply want to snuggle with someone who likes me too, as if such a person exists, haha, but they need to be back in college and I will not be there until August, which is months away. Even that is irrelevant as I am so weak and empty that I could never find someone who might see any worth in me. That would not be that person's fault. I do not believe in blaming anyone, whether it be her fault or the fault of society. I fully recognize that I am someone who is worthless and empty. I will just die instead, okay? I apologize for being so empty and for evidently making you uncomfortable. In fact, I have understood from the very start, including early on in the past semester when I emailed you, that the only way to move forward is for me to leave you alone, especially considering how fortunate I am that you chose to show such grace even after all my actions and admissions. I fully acknowledge that I need to stop interacting with you, and I know that. However, I am typing this anyway and will probably send it because I am merely observing myself do things, too weak to control my actions. I am not in control of my behavior right now. I genuinely have no ability to manage myself. No matter how hard I try, I cannot let go of this extremely one-sided attachment to someone I do not know, and in truth never knew at all because I am too weak and empty to even accomplish that. I am certainly not under any illusion that you are spending any time or energy thinking about me, even in a negative or hateful manner. I cannot stop feeling awful regarding how empty I am. I know I need to just leave you alone. I have understood this since I exceeded occasional messaging and began pleading for your attention. However, I am not in control because I am insane, so here I am. I am not going to kill myself, of course. Even though that might be the wise thing to do, there is no way I could ever gain the courage to do it, thus, I will continue suffering through existence. I just wish I were not so painfully aware of my weakness. I just got back from my intensive 3-month residential mental health treatment program yesterday, where I was completely cut off from the world without my phone or anything, alongside a group of other young adults. I started a new medication specifically for extreme anxiety, and it actually helped me feel significantly better compared to my previous medications. As I left, I was informed by everyone about how much I had improved mentally. However, once I received my phone yesterday, I spiraled downward like never before because all these reminders of my weakness flooded back. I was cuddling all of my pillows just like the nights prior to that treatment. I will never experience cuddling with a real person because I am so empty. Meanwhile, you have an actual life. Stop making me feel weak. 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 Actually, never mind. I am completely worthless and empty. You stated you understood how I felt, but you also mentioned that you improved. In this regard, I must express my deep frustration. It is not the same because I am certain you were able to live and turn things around by the time you reached college, which makes it exasperating to think about how empty I am, knowing I have never gotten better. My entire life has felt like nothing, and I want to cry because I am so messed up, and I despise myself while silently hoping that others detest me too. Why do so many individuals get to live interesting lives that grant them recognition and attention, while I have been utterly messed up mentally for as long as I have existed? Why? Why? This feeling intensifies when someone like you talks about having suffered in the past before eventually improving, making me realize how weak I have become. I just wish there were not these burdens surrounding me, making me feel dreadful. Why couldn't I have been one of those interesting people who receive attention and warm cuddles from others who are also strong and interesting? Thank you for helping me recognize that I am too mentally ill to survive. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to survive. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to survive. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to survive. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to survive. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to survive. Sending this will achieve nothing, obviously. There is nothing you can do about my emptiness. In reality, it will only worsen my feelings, but I need the people who have helped me authentically realize how weak and empty I am to be informed that they contributed to these realizations. You literally stated you have anxiety, but the way you live seems incompatible with that statement. Why would you say that? I apologize, I apologize, I apologize, I apologize, I am insane. I am considering ending my life soon because I feel exceedingly weak and overwhelmingly anxious to continue living. I wanted you to know that an insane, mentally ill, weak individual like me will soon no longer be capable of frightening you anymore, provided I have another mental health crisis, which I am not currently experiencing, in fact. I am actually doing what makes sense in terms of my situation, as just yesterday I was discharged from the first mental health treatment program of 2 that I am undergoing. I am genuinely very sorry for existing. I wish I had never been brought into this world. I want to curl into a ball, cry, and scream endlessly because I lack any positive memories to reflect upon, but I cannot do that, so I am resigned to dying instead. I wish I felt okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I simply want to snuggle with someone who likes me too, as if such a person exists, haha, but they need to be back in college, and I will not be returning until August, which is months away. Even that matters little because I am so weak and empty that I could never find someone who might see any value in me. I do not believe it would be that person's fault. I do not support the notion that it would be anyone's fault, and I fully acknowledge that I am someone who is worthless. I will just die instead, okay? I sincerely apologize for being so empty and for evidently making you uncomfortable. In fact, I have understood from the very beginning, including early on in the past semester when I emailed you, that the only way to move forward is to leave you alone, especially given how fortunate I am that you chose to extend such grace even after my actions and admissions. However, I recognize fully that I need to simply cease interaction with you, and I know that. But despite this awareness, I am typing this anyway and will probably send it, as I am merely watching myself engage in behaviors because I am too weak to control my actions. I am completely incapable of managing my behavior at this moment. I cannot control myself. No matter how hard I try, I cannot let go of this entirely one-sided extreme attachment to someone I do not know, and in fact, never truly knew because I am too weak and empty to do that. I am certainly not under the illusion that you are expending any of your time and energy thinking of me, whether negatively or hatefully. I cannot stop feeling awful regarding how empty I am. I know I need to simply leave you be. I have understood this since I pushed beyond sporadic messaging and began pleading for your attention. Yet I am not in control because I am insane, so I am just doing this. I am not going to end my life, of course. Even though that might be the sensible course of action, there is no way I could ever summon the courage to carry it out. Thus, I must continue suffering through existence. I just want to articulate that I wish I were not so acutely aware of my own weakness. I just returned from my intensive 3-month residential mental health treatment program yesterday, during which I was completely cut off from the world without my phone or any contact with it, kept in a group of other young adults. I started a new medication specifically for extreme anxiety, and it actually aided me in feeling much better compared to my previous medications. Upon my departure, I was informed by everyone how much I had improved mentally. However, since receiving my phone yesterday, I spiraled downward like never before because all those reminders of my profound weakness flooded back. I lay curled up with all my pillows, crying much like all the nights before I began that treatment. It seems unlikely I will ever cuddle with a real person because I feel so empty. Currently, you have an actual life. You are so interesting. Oh my God, please stop making me feel weak. 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 I am completely worthless and empty, as I have previously stated. You indicated you could relate to how I felt, but you also stated you improved, which in this context I find to be deeply frustrating. It is not the same as I am sure you were able to thrive when you reached college and could turn things around. That realization highlights just how empty I feel knowing I have never improved. My entire existence has felt like nothing, and I want to cry because I am so messed up and I despise myself. I hope others despise me too. Why do so many people get to lead cool, interesting lives filled with recognition and attention while I have been thoroughly messed up mentally for as long as I have lived? Why? It feels even worse when someone like you discusses suffering in the past before recovering, making me wonder why I feel so weak and inadequate. I wish there weren't obstacles tormenting me. Why could I not have been one of those interesting and strong individuals who receive attention and warm cuddles from others who are also strong and interesting? Thank you for helping me realize that I am, unfortunately, too mentally ill to live. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to live. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to live. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to live. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to live. Thank you for helping me realize that I am too mentally ill to live. Just sending this will achieve absolutely nothing. There is nothing you can do to alter my emptiness, and in fact, it will only amplify my distress. I need the people who have helped me correctly realize how weak and empty I am to be made aware that they played a role in these realizations. You explicitly stated you experience anxiety, but the way you engage with the world seems incompatible with that idea, so why would you even say that? I apologize for my behavior. I am deeply sorry. I apologize. I admit that I am insane. I am considering taking my life soon, as I feel exceedingly weak and overwhelmingly anxious in this existence. I wanted to inform you that an insane, mentally ill, and weak individual like me will soon no longer be capable of causing you distress, provided I have another mental health crisis, which I am not at the moment actually. I am simply doing what makes sense given my situation. Also, yesterday I was discharged from the first mental health treatment program out of the two I am attending. I genuinely regret my existence. I wish I had never come into being. I long to curl into a ball, cry, and scream forever because I do not have any pleasant memories to reflect upon, but I cannot, so I am destined to die instead. I wish I felt okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I simply want to snuggle with someone who appreciates me too, as if such a person exists, haha, but they need to be back in college and I will not be there until August, which is months away. Even that is irrelevant as I am so weak and empty that I could never find someone who might see any worth in me, and that would not be that person's fault. I refuse to assign blame to anyone, whether that is her fault or society's. I fully acknowledge that I am someone who is worthless. I will simply die instead, okay? I sincerely apologize for being so empty and clearly making you uncomfortable. In fact, I have recognized from the very beginning, including early on in the previous semester when I emailed you, that the only way to progress is to abstain from interacting with you, especially considering how fortunate I am that you chose to extend such grace even after my previous actions and admissions. Nonetheless, I fully recognize that I need to simply refrain from interacting with you, and I know this. Yet I am typing this anyway and will likely send it, just as I am passively witnessing myself commit these actions, too weak to control myself. I currently lack any capacity to manage my behavior. No matter how hard I attempt, I cannot relinquish this intensely one-sided, extreme attachment to someone I do not know, and in truth, never truly knew at all because I am too weak and empty to even do that. I am beyond the illusion that you are expending any of your time and energy thinking about me, whether negatively or with hatred. I cannot stop feeling awful regarding how empty I am. I know I need to simply leave you be. I have understood this since I advanced beyond sporadic messaging and began pleading for your attention. However, I am not in control because I am insane, so I am just proceeding with this. I am not going to end my life, of course. Even though that may be the rational course of action, there is no way I could ever gather the courage to do that. Thus, I will continue experiencing this suffering of existence. I just want to clarify that I wish I were not so painfully aware of my weakness. Just yesterday, I returned from my intensive 3-month residential mental health treatment program where I was completely cut off from outside contact without my phone, alongside a group of other young adults. I began a new medication specifically for extreme anxiety, and it actually helped me feel significantly better compared to my previous medications. As I departed, I was informed by everyone how much I had improved mentally. Nevertheless, upon receiving my phone yesterday, I spiraled downward like never before due to all the reminders of my profound weakness. I lay curled up with all my pillows, crying just as I had during the nights preceding this treatment. It appears I will never have the chance to cuddle with a real person because I feel so empty. Meanwhile, you possess a tangible life. You are incredibly interesting, oh my god, please stop making me feel weak. Stop making me feel weak, 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 stop making me feel weak. I am utterly worthless and empty, as I have previously stated. You indicated you could relate to my feelings, but you also stated that you improved, which in this context is frustrating. It is not the same because I am sure you were capable of thriving by the time you entered college, thus being able to turn things around. That realization emphasizes how empty I feel knowing I have never improved. My entire existence feels like nothing, and I yearn to cry because I am so disturbed and I despise myself. Silently, I hope others feel the same way about me. Why do so many individuals enjoy experiencing cool, interesting lives that grant them recognition and attention while I have endured emotional turmoil for as long as I have lived? Why? I find it increasingly painful when someone who appears successful discusses improving after suffering, making me question why. I feel indecisively weak and inadequate. I just wish there weren't these burdens tormenting me. Why could I not have been one of those intriguing individuals who receive attention and warm cuddles from others who are also strong and interesting? Thank you for helping me realize that I am, regrettably, too mentally ill to exist. Thank you for helping me come to the realization that I am too mentally ill to live. Thank you for helping me recognize my mental illness. Thank you for helping me realize I am too mentally ill to exist. Thank you for helping me grasp the scope of my mental illness. Thank you for helping me understand just how mentally ill I am. Sending this will achieve absolutely nothing, obviously. There is nothing you can do to alter my emptiness, and it will only intensify my suffering. However, I need the individuals who have enabled me to realize how weak and empty I am to know they contributed to these realizations. You explicitly stated you experience anxiety, but the manner in which you navigate your life seems incompatible with that assertion. For what reason would you even make such a claim? I apologize for my behavior. I am sincerely sorry. I apologize. I admit that I am insane. I am contemplating ending my life soon, as I feel exceedingly weak and overwhelmed by anxiety regarding living. I wanted you to know that an insane, mentally ill and feeble individual like myself will soon no longer be capable of bothering you anymore. Provided I have another mental health crisis, which I am not experiencing at the moment. Instead, I am simply doing what seems logical in terms of my situation. Also, yesterday, I was discharged from the first of 2 mental health treatment programs I am under. I am genuinely regretful for existing. I wish I had never been born. I want to curl into a ball, cry, and scream endlessly because I do not possess any pleasant memories to reflect upon, but I cannot, so I am condemned to die instead. I wish I felt okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I want to feel okay. I simply want to snuggle with someone who appreciates me too, as if such a person exists, haha, but they need to be returning to college and I will not be back until August, which is months away. Even that feels irrelevant because I am so weak and empty that I could never find someone who might see any worth in me, and that would not be that person's fault. I do not believe in assigning blame, whether it is her fault or society's. I fully recognize that I am someone who is worthless. I will merely die instead, okay? I sincerely apologize for being so devoid of substance and for evidently making you uncomfortable. Throughout this entire time, I have been aware that the only way to make progress is to avoid interacting with you, especially considering how lucky I am that you chose to show grace despite my actions. I know I need to simply refrain from contacting you, but I typify this anyway and will probably send it because I simply mechanically observe myself acting without being able to control it, as I currently feel powerless to control my actions at all. No matter how much I endeavor to let go of this one-sided attachment to someone who I do not know, and in all honesty have never known at all, I cannot because I am too weak and empty. I am not under an illusion that you have ever devoted any of your time or energy thinking about me, even with negative thoughts. I cannot stop feeling terrible about how utterly empty I am. I know that I need to leave you alone. I have understood this since I crossed the line beyond sporadic messaging and began pleading for your attention. But candidly, I do not feel in control because I am insane, so I am just proceeding with this. I am not going to kill myself, obviously. Even though that might be the rational option, I genuinely do not possess the courage necessary to accomplish such an act. Consequently, I must continue to suffer through life. I just want to note that I wish I were not so painfully conscious of my own weakness. I just returned yesterday from a 3-month program where I was entirely shielded from the outside world, which restricted my contact. I started on a new medication specifically prescribed for extreme anxiety, and in stark contrast to my previous medications, it effectively helped me feel better. Upon leaving, everyone remarked on how significantly I had improved. As soon as I received my phone yesterday, however, I began spiraling downward and became overwhelmed by the multitude of reminders revealing just how weak I actually am. I lay engulfed in my pillows, echoing all the nights before the treatment. It appears I will never share an embrace with a real person since I am plagued by this emptiness. Meanwhile, you live an existence filled with experiences. Please stop making me feel weak. 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 I am utterly worthless and empty. You mentioned being familiar with how I felt. Yet you also declared that you had improved, which only frustrates me further. It is hard not to resent that you were capable of flourishing and transforming your life once you reached college, whereas I seem to have been irreversibly damaged throughout my life and have failed to improve at all. I never improved, 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 I never improved. In fact, I feel like I am deteriorating. Why do so many individuals live fascinating lives that garner them recognition and admiration while I have endured mental turmoil for as long as I can recollect? Why? It is incredibly painful to witness someone who has seemingly overcome such struggles speaking on their recovery tendencies, which leaves me feeling even more inadequate and alienated. If only I could shed the burdens that weigh me down, maybe I could be one of those engaging and resilient individuals who receive affection and admiration from others who are similar. Once again, thank you for guiding me toward the realization that I am catastrophically mentally ill. Thank you for helping me recognize that I remain plagued with this mental illness. Thank you for helping me become aware that I am too mentally unstable to exist. Thank you for aiding in my discovery of how mentally ill I truly am. Thank you for supporting my understanding of being overwhelmingly enveloped by this mental affliction. Just transmitting this will do nothing substantive. There is nothing you can do about my emptiness. It will inevitably magnify my discomfort. I must make note of the individuals who correctly helped me recognize the magnitude of my weakness and emptiness, allowing them to know the integral role they played in these truths. You voiced your struggle with anxiety, yet the way you navigate through life seems to contradict this assertion. Why did you feel prompted to express that? I apologize sincerely. I am genuinely sorry. I apologize. I acknowledge my insanity. I am contemplating capitalizing on this malaise soon, as my inherent weakness and anxiety render the prospect of continuing to exist insufferable. I felt obliged to inform you that an unstable, weakened, mentally ill person like myself will soon cease to trouble you anymore, especially since I am not having another mental health crisis, which is not the case. I am actually engaging in actions that seem rational given my situation. Also, as of yesterday, I have completed the first of 2 mental health programs. I'm genuinely remorseful for persisting in my existence. I wish I had never come into being. I desperately wish to curl into a ball and howl indefinitely because I lack any redeemable memories to reflect upon, but that is not feasible, hence I dwell on the impulse to perish instead. I wish I could feel okay. I desire to feel okay. I need to feel okay. I long for a semblance of normalcy. I wish to be able to find comfort with someone who enjoys my company, as if such a person exists, haha, but that requires them to return to college, and I will not be around until August, which feels like an eternity. Even that seems trivial because I am so weak and empty that it would be impossible for someone to recognize any value in me, and I refuse to point fingers. It would be neither that person's nor society's fault. I completely acknowledge that I perceive myself as worthless. Consequently, I will simply accept my demise. I am truly sorry for being so hollow and clearly causing you discomfort. I have acknowledged from the beginning that the only way to make progress is to refrain from any interaction with you, especially considering how incredibly fortunate I am to have received your kindness, despite my previous actions and revelations. I fully realize that I must abstain from contacting you, but despite this knowledge, I am still typing this message and will probably send it because I have become a passive observer of my actions without the capacity to take control. I feel utterly incapable of managing my own behavior. No matter how fervently I attempt to sever this one-sided attachment to someone I do not know and in truth have never known, it continues because I am too fragile and empty to let go. I no longer possess any illusions that you would waste a moment of your time or energy pondering over me, whether the thoughts are negative or hateful. I can't help but experience distress regarding my emptiness. I recognize that I ought to leave you alone. I have grasped this truth since I transcended the realm of sporadic messaging and began desperate pleas for your attention. However, my lack of control stems from my mental instability, so I am simply persisting with this. I will not take my life, of course. Even though that may seem like the logical course of action, I feel so disconnected from reality that I cannot muster the courage to follow through with it. Accordingly, I will persist through this torment of existence. I just wish I weren't so painfully aware of my own weakness. Yesterday, I emerged from my intensive 3-month mental health treatment program, wherein I was isolated completely from my phone and any contacts. A new medication designed for extreme anxiety was introduced, and unlike my past medications, it provided remarkable relief. As I left, everyone noted the substantial progress I had made. Yet upon retrieving my phone just the day before, I have spiraled downward once again as the accumulated reminders of my weaknesses flooded back. I curl up with my pillows, replicating the behaviors from nights past. Sadly, it appears that I will never find solace in the embrace of another person due to this persistent emptiness. Meanwhile, you live a vivid life filled with engagement and purpose. Withdraw the pressure from me, it only exacerbates my feelings of inadequacy. I feel a profound sense of humility to have experienced your kindness in the past semester, and I am incredibly grateful for that. I acknowledge that my ideal plans, aspirations, and deepest desires for social recognition and acceptance have been marred by overwhelming anxiety and mental illness. On most days, the agony I endure within myself is unbearable, yet I continue striving towards healing, growth, and connection, however elusive they may seem. Once again, I am thankful for you helping me recognize the true nature of my mental illness. Thank you for playing a part in my realization that my understanding of being mentally broken extends far beyond societal constructs of value or worthiness. Thank you for aiding in my recognition of my state of suffering. Just sending this will yield no tangible improvement. There is nothing you could do to alleviate my experiences of emptiness. It will inevitably intensify my sense of anguish. I require acknowledgement from the individuals who have led me to see the extent of my weakness and emptiness to know their roles in these understandings. You stated your awareness of experiencing anxiety, but the way you navigate your life seems contradictory to that sentiment. Why did you express it that way? I apologize for this intrusion. Sincerely, I am sorry. I am sorry for sending this. I apologize. I acknowledge that I have difficulties managing my tendencies toward excessive emotional outpouring. I find myself contemplating the end of my existence soon, as current circumstances make it increasingly insufferable to persist in living. I felt the need to inform you that an incredibly mentally sick individual like myself will soon no longer be troubling you, especially since I am not currently recovering from a mental health crisis, which is not the case. I am merely trying to engage in rationality concerning my situation. In fact, I was discharged from my first treatment program for mental health yesterday. I am genuinely remorseful for my presence and the impact of my existence. I wish I had never been born. I want to curl up in a ball and scream and cry indefinitely as I do not possess any redeeming memories to draw but instead am resigned to languish in despair. I wish I could feel okay. I want to feel okay. I wish I could feel okay. I want to feel okay, and I am longing for something that resembles normalcy. If I've said anything unwarranted, I genuinely apologize. Please disregard me unless it is necessary, as I have genuinely felt overwhelmed these past few weeks due to my mental health struggles. But I truly hope that you can return to your authentic self without interference and continue to navigate life with the joy it brings you. Thank you again for the connection we shared in the past. I wish you well. Story 2. Stuck in a 5-year relationship with my 21-year-old girlfriend, I've kept her safe from her abusive past, but now she's emotionally cheating on me. I can't let her go back to broken people, but is my love misplaced? Is it time to let go or hold on? I truly do not know how long this will be, but I need to express my thoughts somehow before I lose my sanity. I am not seeking advice. I am simply shouting into the void to release what is in my mind. I am 23 years old and she is 21. I have been with her for 5 years, having met her in high school when she was a junior and I was a senior. She's my second girlfriend, but in reality, she is my first significant relationship. I have done everything I can for her. I helped her escape her abusive and terrible parental household. I have supported her through injuries and financial difficulties. Yet I know what she does behind my back. At times, she has treated me poorly. This may sound conceited, but I believe I am the best guy she has ever dated. I am not sure how someone finds an abusive jerk and a psycho who became a stalker in high school, but it seems that unkind people are everywhere. Therefore, it is not exactly a high bar. Still, I have made an effort. Her family is abusive and controlling, which motivated me to get her out of that situation, and I have ensured that our home is unlike that environment for her. Moving her in with me when she turned 18 was not perfect, and many people would likely think it was too soon. However, I am not certain that I could have done things differently if I had the chance to go back. She has lived a very, shall we say, tumultuous life filled with every type of trauma imaginable, and it is not trivial. I did not want that for her. I wanted her to have a better life, so I made that happen. But apparently that is not enough. I pay for the rent and for groceries. I have assisted her in paying for cars. She has totaled 2 and purchased 1 broken down money pit during our time together. I have covered costs for surgeries. She suffers brain damage from her tumultuous life that, among other issues, affects her balance and renders her somewhat accident-prone, resulting in broken bones and falls down the stairs. Beyond financial matters, her mental health is unsurprisingly quite poor, and I have tried my best to always be there for her, to love her unconditionally. However, that unconditionally is really being tested. I am not perfect, nor am I trying to portray myself as a superhero, so please do not think I am just blowing my own horn. These statements are all true. Well, I have meandered long enough. I need to address the main issue eventually. I know she is at least attempting to cheat on me. Her twisted notion of friendship leads her to essentially engage in emotional affairs. I am aware that she goes behind my back to complain to her friends, spreading lies about me being controlling and likely other falsehoods as well. I would probably be able to endure complaints, even nasty ones, as long as they were based in truth. I understand that moving her in with me so early and paying the rent at our current place, I do so because I have less debt and therefore lower monthly expenses. Both our names are on the lease could create a situation in which she becomes dependent on me. I acknowledge that it would be possible to be very controlling. However, I do not want to be that way. It is simply not in my nature. I do not even enjoy choosing her outfit when she asks me to. Venting about relationship issues to friends is normal. I do not comprehend why she needs to present me as a monster and lie to her friends. She has told them that I limit her friendships, but I have not. She has claimed I have become more controlling, but I have not. After one argument over something insignificant, I believe it was something as trivial as forgetting to do the dishes, she told one guy that I was basically the worst boyfriend ever and implied that he was a much better person. She engaged in what I would classify as a full-blown emotional affair, of which I am fully aware. I will not provide details, but over Snapchat, she intentionally led some random individual she encountered online for several months in a twisted self-validation process. Her past has led her to believe that friendships are linked to being viewed as a sex object. I have no concrete evidence that she has ever actually cheated on me, but she has certainly had opportunities, and I know being overtly flirty, openly insinuating she wants to sleep with them as a joke, is quite common among her friends. Furthermore, she has poor taste in friends, but it is not my place to dictate who she chooses to befriend. If she wishes to associate with broken individuals who refuse to improve and eventually cause her harm, that is a lesson she must learn on her own. There was a time when I openly expressed my mistrust of some of her friends, but she became upset and I ceased my comments. I have proven myself correct about those friends repeatedly, so why argue when patience yields results? This situation is not exactly a matter of her going behind my back, but she often uses me as an emotional punching bag. When she is upset, she will literally fabricate stories or wildly misinterpret something I said just to become angry with me. She has shared that this behavior mirrors what her mother did to her father, but acknowledging it does not hold much weight when she inevitably reverts to her old ways. This next point is so disturbing that it almost seems humorous. While I have no hard proof that she has ever actually cheated on me, she does have an account on Ashley Madison and a profile on a sugar baby finding website. Seriously, Ashley Madison, is it 2012? The sugar baby site is just comical to me. Perhaps I am just broken, but it is so absurd that I cannot help but laugh. She created the Ashley Madison account in 2022, well into our relationship, and I only recently discovered it and learned that she accessed it again not long ago. The sugar baby situation caught me off guard. How did I find this out? Yes, that I am not perfect thing was not said for sympathy. Snooping through your partner's belongings is wrong and invasive. I had my reasons, and what I discovered suggests I am not as bad as I thought, but it is still something I should not have done, and I regret it. It is not a habit I typically have. Will I end the relationship with her? No, I do not know if I can. I cannot throw her back into the arms of her parents or to one of her friends who seeks to exploit her and will be just as harmful as others from her past. I have endured for this long, I can continue. She may not appreciate me, nor may she understand how much I do for her, but I cannot allow her to return to a broken life filled with broken individuals. If she chooses to leave me, I will not resist, but I will not be the one to consign her to that fate. I love her. I probably should not, but at this point I am not sure I can worry about my own happiness. I know she cares about me and that may need to be enough. I cannot bear to see her suffer and I believe it does not matter if I suffer. I have spent about a quarter of my life being there for her, protecting her. Perhaps that is all I can do. She understands that I do not want her to feel obligated to repay me for anything, and I have made it clear that I do not want to hold any of my help over her head. I have been very explicit about that. Therefore, she must choose to stay because she wants to. She can be incredibly sweet and at times it is wonderful. She talks about us getting married and having children. Before I came into her life, she did not want children for fear they would be hurt as she has been. However, I am aware on some level that it is all a facade. Whether she is merely using me or has justified her actions to herself in some perverse way, I cannot say. My first girlfriend spread rumors after we broke up, telling people I was a satanic warlock who hexed her into being with me. Why can't all breakups be that amusing? At least I have relieved myself of this burden.